hard at work.
Or hardly working. Am I right?
Got him.
What's up, by the way, Trihex? It's been years, bro.
Bro, can you remind me? Damn, it's such a blur. The face rings familiar, but I forgot what thing we were on together.
Um, I think last time was like PAX East. I was on a Pokemon panel, or that might have been the year I did the fighting game panel, How to Get Good. Um,
Oh
we were
Jesus.
we just had mutual friends. We hung out.
I don't even PAX East. Oh my God, that was like
Before
might as well
COVID.
said like last lifetime. Holy shit. First off, you should have prefaced that with like, yeah, pre-COVID. I've been like, oh shit, I gotta dig far back in the. That's on
In the
that memory's on
annals,
another hard drive, dog. That hard drive's like in the closet.
collect the
Uh,
dust.
Oh, bro, shit. Yeah, it's two categories. Either it's like post COVID or like pre-COVID. I'm like, shit, shit. 2019 feels like it was 10 years ago. Ugh.
Okay, Danny, we're waiting on your camera, and then we're ready to start, buddy. I guess while he does that, you can go ahead and take it away, Potts.
Hello, gentlemen. Honestly,
Hello.
as a hip hop head, I would have to say that this is going to be up there from a historical perspective of one that our children point back to and reference in terms of like top disses, top beefs of all time. Just the level of ground that has been covered, the amount of people who have been involved, the allegations that have come out. It is pandemonium. So I personally am very excited to see this all go down.
Man, yeah, I feel like I agree with what she was saying. This is probably going to be the greatest beef that's ever happened in hip hop. I don't see anything surpassing this in 20 years, maybe even 30 years. I think this is the biggest thing since Jay-Z and Nas. I feel like you can say Tupac Biggie was bigger because of the way that it like ignited both coasts against each other. It was very much more territorial, I would say. But as far as just reach, hip hop is literally now the largest consumed or the second largest consumed genre in the world. So I would say now this is bigger than anything else. So I think it's like a pretty huge deal. And I'm definitely siding with Kendrick here.
Sure. Sorry. We're doing opening statements on like how I feel about the whole beef itself, right?
Yep.
Um, I think yeah, no, this is a great time all around with the beef itself here. I'm seeing a lot of like I find both the veteran hip hop heads who are in it for the lyricism in contrast to maybe like a younger generation with the TikTokers where they're like much more pretty blunt on the surface level. And I'm seeing like a generational difference with how the traffic of the engagement to the reactions to everything is kind of just further exemplifying what hip hop meant in the 90s versus the 2000s versus the 2010s now into the 2020s. I can definitely tell we're past the point where you saw the era of the SoundCloud rapper and the dominance of like the grassroots uplifting through social media, whether you want to look at examples of how that happened with people like Justin Bieber or all the tragedies that have happened to those SoundCloud rappers we can think of that passed and didn't make it to the 2020s and the 2010s. I think that's been very, very interesting. I think that there's still a lot to digest and break down from the entirety of the whole thing. And I'm kind of already getting long-winded now here, but I find so many angles of this, very important to dissect on the reciprocal basis here. But just to kind of give myself a conclusion, I would say that I'm very clearly in the Kendrick camp, but my biases aside, I'm very prepared to back all that up with substance as well. So I'm happy and excited to engage in it today.
All right, yeah, I'm Zerg. I am the Z in a duo of D and Z Speak. We do a weekly show on Kick. As far as the rap beef, I think this is the first time that I am both old enough and also versed enough in both of the artists to even have a say, which is kind of wild, right? Because I was here for Jay Z Nas, but I was never like a big Jay Z fan, even though everybody around me was. I was respected Nas, but I wasn't like he wasn't my favorite. So yeah, I'm abreast of this, and it feels interesting. Um, I am, of course, well, not of course, but I'm gonna be on leaning towards Kendrick's side. Um, and this is strictly from a lyricist standpoint, a musical standpoint. But at the same time, I saw a meme that kind of ruined the whole thing for me, which is like rap beef is just two grown men writing angry poetry at each other, and I haven't been the same since. So
Yeah, tragic simplification of the situation, but sure.
What's up, you guys? I've been trying to get this camera thing working, but it's, I don't know. On my screen, it's showing like 2 dots circulating. So I'm still trying to get it to work. But first of all, I want to say, thank you
Wait,
for
really quickly. Turn the camera on, and even if it just shows 2 dots, leave it because we can probably see it. You just can't.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's what it's showing right now. So I have it on all the time. Yeah.
Then I don't know. Never mind. Okay, go ahead.
I just want to say, thank you for invited me to this panel discussion that we're having, and we are all witnessing one of the greatest rap battles of our time. I mean, it's not like Biggie versus Tupac, or I wasn't around for that, or I missed the days of the Jay-Z versus Nas or the 50 Cent versus Ja Rules. But you know what, we're back at it. Like, we're living in the early 2000s and the 90s again. And when it comes to this beef, I love both artists. I love Kendrick and I love Drake. And but I'm very open, like, to the discussion of the substance of the music, like what actually sounds good and what is like, what's the takeover and what's the ether in this conversation. And to be honest with you, my opinion, I don't think Kendrick really took this yet. Not yet. And I'll explain why. I think Drake right now, he has the upper hand. And I'll explain everything on my view on why I think that, Drake kind of has him in a checkmate position.
I'm gonna just say, look,
What's up?
I'm gonna start it in the worst way possible. Okay, I'll say this. I'm always, you know what I mean, and I think it should go up from here. Trust me. I'm pretty biased. I never was a big fan of Drake. The reason why I was never a fan of Drake was because of this track, "Started from the Bottom." Now we're here. Like, that was my first introduction to Drake, really, and he did not start from the bottom. Like, you went to private school, you were an upper middle class, raised, in Toronto. Like, you're not going to sit here and tell me you started from the bottom. So from the beginning, I was already like side eye and Drake, like, nah, bro, I'm not feeling it. Now, as time went on, I started getting all of these tracks that were like particularly good. Just Hold On, We're Going Home is a repeater for me. That's
Okay.
a song I probably played, no lie, well over 200 times. I
Sorry
love
about that, y'all.
song. I think it's a fantastic song.
I'm
You don't want
fixing
to hear
it.
him sing it live though. And so then it was like there was like that, and then there was Spotlight, I believe, from the Thank Me Later album. Fire. Pure fire. So it was like, okay, so I have these songs of Drake's that I really like, I really love actually. And so I'm not going to take away from the fact that he has amazing songs. I've never respected Drake per se as a lyricist. I've never really respected him as an artist because I didn't necessarily believe he was completely real. So with all that being said, I was already going to be incredibly biased to Kendrick Lamar. So that's my take. We can get more into the depths of it, but that's why I was never going to be a fan of Drake. I always kind of viewed him as a bit of a culture vulture in that regard. So that's the most unsubstantiated take you can get. And like I said, it should go up from here.
And real quick, Fanatic, what do you mean when you say culture vulture?
Oh, sure. So to me, obviously hip hop has always had like varying cultures, right? But what it was supposed to be, what it had been for so many years, it was a reflection of Black culture expressed through music. That's what hip hop was. That's what R&B was. And so what now it feels like hip hop has become more of a caricature. And then now Black culture is trying to emulate hip hop as opposed to hip hop being a reflection of Black culture. And so there's been really powerful studio executives and people like that who have like enforced this narrative, enforced this viewpoint. And so what you found, it became literally the most successful genre in the world for a very long time. One of the most influential genres. You can find it in every continent, all around the world. They have Indian rap, they have Japanese rap, it's everywhere. They have large amounts of people who consume that. It's been surpassed by EDM now, but for a long time, it was the literal dominant. So then what you saw was a bunch of people who decided that they found it attractive to be cool, and that hip hop was the cool culture. So then they started practicing and participating in all of these things that they didn't know anything about, that they had no experiences of, literally doing everything they can to emulate all of the aspects of the culture while not having any of the background, not having to deal with any of the backlash, some of them not even having the same complexion. And so they've just been partaking in this thing, I would say taking from this thing, but not really being about that cloth. So then at the end of the day, it's not their culture. They just know how to sound and act like it. It seems almost like blackface in a way.
All right. Okay. Understood. Go
I
ahead.
co-sign with that one. You want me to hop in next with
Yeah, go ahead.
me? I guess me backing why I take Kendrick's side in this situation.
Yeah. Let's get some more facts down here.
So I was more. I'll keep it to like more like immediacy in my reaction here. I of course I enjoyed Kendrick's music more. I also thought Certified Lover Boy was a trash album. But I guess not really relevant to this conversation right now here. Just kind of more trying to get to the immediacy of how I felt about each track and whatnot. I wouldn't say I was explicitly super, like, I liked Kendrick's stuff more clearly, but what really irked me, or really I started to feel like just like a native reaction to the irk, was tailor-made freestyle. Like that's when Drake was kind of just flexing and really waiting for a Kendrick response, poking the bear, provoking everything and whatnot. It was the fact that like Drake's stance on utilizing AI for surrogacy voicing through the estate of Tupac and using Snoop Dogg when still alive, just like bringing in these agents that have nothing to do with your petty beef in the first place, felt like a line I'd never seen crossed before in modern artistry. Like I already had a lot of beef with the utilization of AI without consent, whether it comes to learning the digital libraries or whatever else here. You've already seen just a lot of problematic shit where like there was just like a lot of saturation of like, is this diss track I'm hearing about Jay-Z saying this and that? It was AI. So like Drake, someone of his notoriety, using AI in a legitimately unethical, debatably immoral practice on tailor-made freestyle rubbed me hella the wrong way and was giga nuclear cringe. So I thought it didn't even need a Kendrick response. Quite frankly, Drake had already cheddar bobbed himself in the very jump, just with what I saw demonstrated on an ethic basis in the first place. So I'll start there. We can kind of, and then I'll have to even, if you want me to go yap further about like my issues with like Family Matters or The Heart Part 6, we may, but we can keep it to track for track, or we can go Fanatics route with like the broader picture of hip hop altogether and culture. But I'll just start there with that one of many points here why I would be Team Kendrick, just based off of Drake shooting himself in the dick.
Let's start here with what we have. I want to give Danny an opportunity he's heard a few things. I want to give him an opportunity to kind of take this in and rebut. I'm sure you've heard these things before, Danny. What is your response to these allegations?
So I mean, like I said, like, when it comes to Kendrick and Drake, they're both just like, they're amazing artists. No matter the accusations are towards them, and what's being said about them, even like till today, their music speaks for itself. Like, when Kendrick came out with this Section 80, and then I believe his next album right after that was Good Kid, Mad City, we knew Kendrick was here to stay. We knew, like, okay, this guy, he's gonna be around for a while. Like, he drops anthems till this day that we still sing and we love. And even with Drake, when Drake dropped, I'll say, like, he dropped 2 mixtapes before his biggest debut mixtape, which was So Far Gone. He dropped Room for Improvement and Comeback Season. Even in Comeback Season, he was getting the eyes of Lil Wayne and Kanye. Even Kanye recognized him too, which had them fully collab on his first major debut album, which was So Far Gone, that he released as like a EP, which I believe it only had like 7 tracks on it, and it had that song with him, Wayne, Kanye, and Eminem, Forever. As as the impact, though, like, no matter what anybody could like say about like Drake negatively, you cannot doubt his ability to get into the booth or to like deliver records. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But like, the whole like culture vulture thing too, like, to me, like, I get it. Like, I see what everybody's talking about. But then if you look from the other side, like, even like the whole, like, I'll be honest with you, I hate when Drake raps with the like, the man's type shit, like, the UK drill type shit. I don't like that shit. That to me is cringe. But with him like rapping like that, those artists that are like big, like, Central C and other UK drill artists, they all touch his stage. He shows them love. He puts them on records. He collabs with them. So I mean, I would understand if he was to dance hall, like Afro beats and all that stuff. Like, let's say he was inspired by Wizkid, but never even like till this day he'll say, like, he'll doubt, like, oh, Wizkid never had a how do I say it? An introduction into like his sound, like, not giving him any credit. Then I could be like, come on, Drake, like, really? Like, it sounds just like this man. You know what I mean? But he even put Wizkid like on one of his biggest songs. Was it One Dance? Yeah, One Dance. Like, the thing I don't like about the whole culture vulture thing is Drake gives credit where it's due to like his inspirations, and when he's doing a certain type of song or certain type of music in a whole different region, or a type of just a whole different type of like, just song in general. Like, we're used to Drake rapping and singing and whatnot. But then, like, when he like does songs like the One Dance, or even when he put out that god awful, honestly, never mind. I'm not a big EDM guy. I can't tell you one thing about EDM other than like Daft Punk and some other like big artists like that. But there's people that I personally know that go to raves and shit. Excuse my language.
Sure.
Are we allowed to cuss on here?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm hearing a lot of basically that Drake has cred. Drake has been doing these things. He's the one who can put out the albums. And then above that, you're saying, look, Drake isn't taking this culture from people. He is using the culture maybe, but he's also giving them credit where the credit is due. I'd say that's the main thrust of what you're trying to say right now. Would you agree?
Correct. And in a certain stance, yes. Yeah, I'd say yeah, because I mean, like,
Okay.
like, to me, the definition of a culture vulture is if you take that sound, that specific sound from another region, and then just run with it, and not even like, like, break bread, or like
Sure.
like even like show the credit or the love, then to me that's 100% culture vulture.
Okay.
100%.
Does anybody feel like
It's
that's what Drake has done here? Or sorry, that's what Drake has done here.
Man, I have so much to respond to. Go ahead, B.
Oh, yeah. Y'all got it.
Yeah, we'll do
Oh, that
B
wasn't
then
B that
Zerg.
said that was Fnatic.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
me, but good. No, go ahead. Y'all, you two go. I've spoken enough.
All right. Drake person just went, so let me go. So first, I did want to address a couple things that Fnatic said, even though I'm on the Kendrick side. You said your first time hearing Drake was started from the bottom. That was 2013. Drake, my first time hearing Drake was like 2009, a YMCMB mixtape where like he was a fresh hot artist getting signed by Wayne. So was Nicki Minaj. So was Tyga. And that mixtape was a pretty good mixtape. And I had no issue with him. And then even after that, like last name ever, first name greatest, like a sprained ankle boy, ain't nothing to play with. Like sweatpants, hair tie, chilling with no makeup on. That's when you're the prettiest. I hope that you don't take it wrong. Like Drake has had quotables well before the song that introduced you to him. So I'm actually surprised that you were only first exposed to him so late in the game. And then I guess by that point, I could understand why you wouldn't like what you heard. Um, and then as far as the subject matter of the song, right? Everybody, there's always somebody above you, right? He might have grown up in like a white suburban town, but it's like just because you're the richest, just because you're richer than me, you could still be the poorest rich person. So it's like to him that could be the bottom. Like to where he's at now, from where he started, that is, he said now we're here. Like it is higher than he began. So there was that. On the culture vulture aspect, it sounds like I'm like taking Drake's side, but I'm really not. I'm gonna bring it around. On the culture vulture aspect, I think because he is mixed, he is allowed to partake. However, my friend, who's actually the biggest Drake hater on the planet, if you saw me get up from the stream earlier, it's because he actually just got to my house and he's waiting outside. I don't know if you guys want him to come in and rant, but he has always hated Drake, saying that culture vulture aspect, meaning like because he's Canadian, he doesn't know about Black American hood shit and Black American hood struggles. But at the same time, I don't think he really talks that much about the intricacies of that, like trapping and being poor, like, or coming from, yeah, I don't know. I think he has a different struggle being Canadian, but at the end of the day, I think he still is allowed to say like black things, right?
Okay.
I think when you think culture vulture, I think of somebody like Post Malone, who's gone on record saying that if you want to like cry or if you want to have serious feelings, don't listen to hip hop and go listen to like white artists for that, because that goes to show he knows nothing about the genre and its history, its rich history. If you're gonna walk in the house, mute the phone. He was listening to the stream outside. Sorry.
I got you.
So yeah, it's like that shows that you know nothing about the industry that you're profiting off of, that's made you famous, that's putting food on your table. Like how dare you say that about hip hop as a whole? Like there's not artists out there that are doing it just because they're not as big as Drake. There's a reason for that. Like they don't want people, they don't want rappers out there that are positive. They don't want rappers out there that are lyrical like Kendrick and J. Cole. They don't want rappers here that are trying to tell black people that they can do better. Like Lupe Fiasco's been talking about that for 2 decades now. And so the fact that Post Malone got to where he is and doesn't know any of those people to be able to say words like that, that's a culture vulture. So that being said, I think the rap beef is about the lyricism, the cleverness, the prose, the rhymes, the metaphors, all that usage, and Kendrick is just on top. Like, of course, it's just, yeah, like I said, it's two grown men writing angry poetry to each other, but the clever way that you do that, instead of just saying, oh well, you're short and oh, you beat your wife, like how clever did you say that though? How many entendres were there? How did you use rhyme in that scheme? And I think this is why the whole thing started, is because nobody's doing that right now like Kendrick is. and somebody said that there was the big three, and he was like, "No, fuck that, because they're not doing what I'm doing." And the only person close to doing that was J. Cole, and he was the smart guy that backed out before it got to where it is right now. So
Gotcha.
he's over here living his best life while Drake is fighting for his. That's my piece for that's my opening.
All right, so people, yeah, it was so people are attacking the culture vulture idea. It sounds like maybe people don't agree too much with that term. Fanatic, do you want to defend your claim?
Sure.
Yeah, B,
you can go first, B, and then I'll do it.
The first thing that I want to there's two things I want to touch on, and then I'm going to talk about the beef. The first thing that I want to touch on is the fact that what we're not really talking about, or the conversation that always comes up, but when it comes up, it comes up negatively, and we have to attack it, is Black American culture. First off, Black Americans have to fight for the fact that we have culture. And so many times we have people from Caribbean, the people from UK, people from Africa who tell Black people in America that we don't have Black culture. But then they turn around and then they siphon Black culture, which would be hip hop rap. So the first thing that we have to do is first have to say that we have culture, we have a language, we have a religion, we have music, we have food. And it's not just hip hop rap, it's blues, it's jazz. It is so much Black culture that is specific to Black American culture that we don't get credit for. It's in one breath they want to say that we don't have culture, but then another breath they want to take what we have, i.e., in my opinion, why I believe that Drake is a culture vulture, because even if we want to say that, yes, your father is Black, so you are half Black, you have a relationship with the people that you grew up with in Canada. So even if we allow him to be like, yeah, you're a Black man, you're not a Black American man. And kind of like back to some of the points made earlier, he's not going to be familiar with Black American culture, which is why Kendrick was like, you siphoned it from 2 Chainz, you siphoned it from Lil Baby, you siphoned it from everybody else, because you wouldn't necessarily know how to relate to Black American culture because you are not a Black American. And he said he spent a couple summers in Tennessee with his daddy, but not enough for when he says the N-word, it doesn't sound offensive. Like, we are still working through that. The second point that I want to make is that this all started because of Meg Thee Stallion.
Everybody
I at least want to
like,
give my girl a little bit of a shout out and a little bit of
statements.
credibility that she's the one with Hiss that started the shots to Drake back in January. And we laughed and we kikied and we ha-ha, but we really didn't take it seriously. But that Megan's Law line,
So
I think is like,
guys,
it's grown beautifully to where we are
seconds,
now,
please.
considering the allegations that are coming out about Drake. So at first, want to at least say that there's been a couple people that were on top of, like, there's a couple people that was on top of Drake's head. Meg Thee Stallion kind of being the first one, at least for 2024. And then everybody else was like, actually, I really don't like that man. Because, and I will kind of give it to the guy, I don't know his name because it's Danny. I will give it to Danny. That for a lot of people, they will say, well, he's giving credit to where credit is due. He's not necessarily siphoning and taking from the culture if he's putting these people on stage and he's putting these people on his records. True. But he's also a snake. He'll sit there and like time and time again talk about how he loves Wayne, but he turned around and like banged this girl while he was in jail. So you can sit there and you can say that you put people on your track and you put people on stage and that you roll with people, but how is your morality around those people? He's not a man of integrity after the fact. So and it's really feeling like pomp and circumstance. It's kind of feeling like a show because he understands Black culture enough that you got to check in, but he doesn't have enough integrity that he's holding these people like in high regard, that he's not dissing them over or he's not using them. Like all of OVO, he takes from them and he doesn't actually put them on. Like that's why he got an issue with Weeknd right now. So even if we look at the people who were under his label, he didn't treat them right. So I'm not even really in the space of like, this man is not necessarily being a culture vulture because he's like putting people on. If he turns around and then he like disses them on the back end. Mm-hmm. And sadly, I will say I started off as a Drake fan. I was very much so a Houston, Atlanta, Vegas girl. I like used to listen to the mixtapes over and over when I was growing up. Cause like the best I ever had hit when I was in college. And like he was the college pretty boy. Like he was making music that was for women. And my biggest issue here is that so many rappers start off with their market being towards women. And then some way, somehow they turn misogynist and sexist. And then it's like, well, F the women, we don't care about them. But that's how you got on. Like your pretty boy music, which was like really hyping college girls up, is how he became successful, how him and Trey Songz became successful. So for him to now turn around and now he's in this position where he's like having these crazy allegations. Mm-hmm. He has lyrics talking about, well, I will say that we have somewhat confirmed that the George Zimmerman line was AI, but that you rapping like you want to free the slaves line, yeah, that's not AI. Like a man who's about the Black American culture wouldn't say something like you rap like you're trying to get the slaves free. Are we all trying to get free? So unfortunately, I started off as a Drake fan, and then and I was kind of off Drake when the Millie Bobby Brown stuff was coming out. When I heard what he did to Meg Thee Stallion, how he was very Tory
This is
Lanez,
torture.
pro
This
Tory
is actual
Lanez,
torture.
like not with Meg. Like he's been doing slick shit for a minute, and I think it is now that we're in a space where we do have to call it out.
Okay, all right. We'll have a response from
Great
Fnatic.
stuff.
Real quick, just real quick. Try to keep it a little bit shorter. If everybody talks for 5 minutes, everybody only gets to talk twice.
Yep.
Go ahead, Fnatic.
I think those are all good intros. So I'll just say this for the
Yeah,
record.
yeah,
The
for
reason
sure.
why I believe that he's a culture vulture it's not just about a race thing, because you can be a Black person and not really have like that culture and like come like as some people will call them a Huxtable, where somebody will start trying to imitate a culture that they're not actually a part of. And that's normally what the phrase that we would use for Black folks. So Drake being half Black doesn't change the fact that that's not his culture, that's not his experience. And then, yeah, you can say, oh man, he gives shout outs to those people. But a lot of times what he does, it almost feels like he does music with those people so that he gets that credit. So then he can say, see, I did that. And then he goes on to do a bunch of singles without that person ever involved. And then now at this point, now I'm just me and I did what I did. I'm doing my thing. Likewise, you saw even like, what's her name? Ariana Grande do that with Nicki Minaj. She was doing the black fishing thing with like completely black skin. She was literally darker than Nicki Minaj in some of her songs. Had Nicki Minaj get on there and like, hey, now I'm kind of doing the hood thing, right? Leaving the pop stuff alone, you know what I'm saying, going in the hood direction. And then afterwards, then she gets rid of Nicki Minaj and then starts doing these rap tracks by herself, doing her own raps, right? So it's like, I feel like, yeah, you're still a vulture. You're never going to be this culture, which is why Kendrick said you can't imitate this violence because you're not actually a part of this. So then when you're doing that kind of thing, I think like the idea that this is actually that's why you're a culture vulture. You're not actually that person. And then when we have videos from the very beginning of you talking about things like, yeah, I don't like the way people sound. They sound ignorant when they like people who are of like a lower economic standing talking about like, yeah, those people just sound so ignorant and so on and so forth, right? Like when you have that stance and you talk about how much you're intentionally sound so proper because you wanted to really express yourself and those people are ignorant, and then now you're imitating that stand and that's your natural vernacular now. Nah, freak out of here, bro. You're switching. You're code switch, and it's not even a real code switch. Yeah, that's it.
Dang.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right.
Lead the way. I don't know if we want to go like track for track here. I got some beef to poke on with Family Matters. I got beef to poke on with Hard Part 6. I don't know. Do you want to go track for track on things, or do you want to kind of go more in the broader cultural thing, or do you want to hop on the topic? I'm sorry, I'm not. I don't mean to moderate for it. I was asking. I don't know where y'all want to go.
No, you're all good. Before we do that, I think that's probably the next place to go here. Just before we do that, let's give Danny an opportunity to kind of respond. There's been a lot of stuff thrown at Danny here. So what do you think, Danny? What are your thoughts on everything you're hearing here?
On everything.
Yeah, you turn it around. Are you now pro Kendrick?
No, I mean, like, this is all for like good conversation.
Of course.
I love that everyone's like, they're so, everyone's like very like